Hi, welcome back to Third Academy's Web3 Management 101 class. If you're a part of our students and you've been following the class from the week one, which started exactly 1 month ago, congratulations, you made it to the finish line. Today is our last class in the Web3 Community Management 101 course. And we have a very interesting guest and we have a very interesting speaker today who would be taking us through the topic how you can build a profitable career as a community manager. And we hope that from the 5 weeks lessons that we've had, you have been able to build your skill and have the knowledge that is required for you to build your career as a Web3 community manager. And this is like um what you need, right? This is like what you need to like take you further and make sure that it's actually something that's profitable for you as a career. And we have a very interesting guest, like I mentioned earlier. We have Lacey with us. Lacey, a quick introduction about Lacey. She's a startup founder and she's currently building Meta Intro. Meta Intro is professional Web3 resume wallet. It's a multi-chain custodial wallet that holds your proof of employment, proof of skill, and proof of education, right? Replacing the PDF resume. And they have over 200K members and over 3,000 jobs in the Web3 and AI space that's posted in a month. And yeah, so we're going to hear from her. Lacey has helped thousands of people make the professional career transition into Web3. And now she'll be taking us through how we can build a profitable career as a community manager. Welcome, Lacey. Hi.
Hi, thank you for having me. I don't know if I'm standing in the right spot or if I'm trying. But this is such a close space. I love what you guys built.
Thank you. I'm glad that you love it. Okay, so I think I already gave like a quick introduction of you, but I don't know if you would have any other thing you would want to say about yourself before like we move forward into like the space.
No, I think you covered it. I'm excited to talk about pursuing a career path as a community manager, and happy to answer any questions that anybody has.
All right, and if anybody has any question, just like Lacey just mentioned, um you just to make sure that we don't have any feedback
So I could use my phone since.
on the file corner now. Question. Now, a very interesting the first interesting question that I have, because I remember one experience that I had earlier, and someone mentioned that they work as a moderator and they don't really know like the difference between who a moderator is and who is a community manager, right? So it sounds very simple, but no one lets it to tell like who is a community manager, right? So for somebody like that who is confused about the role that a community manager has to play, right? So I feel like we should start from the basics. Who, in your opinion, who is a community manager, and what are some of the common tasks that the community manager performs in the community?
Yeah, so I actually think our community manager is here today. I think her name's Yugoti. She's wonderful. And she actually came from the MedIntro community. And her day to day generally consists of welcoming new users specifically into the Discord, chatting with people, and because of the context of our Discord community, helping people find jobs and helping them around the server and answering career related questions. So whether that's like resume help, interview help, even just a quick like you can do it, That's a big part of being a community moderator is encouraging people to
Yeah,
continue
please kindly.
pursuing a career in the space. So day-to-days can vary, but for the most part, it consists of chatting and engaging with our members. Hopefully that answered it. Oh,
Yes, yes, yes,
sorry.
yes. Yes, it did. I had a delay in a meeting. I'm like, wow, that's actually very interesting. And just like a follow up question, because from what we see day to day, um there's a lot of hype, I would say, around like the community management space, right? So, and also around communities in Web3, because gradually brands have the way that project promotes their brands have changed significantly over time, right? So in your opinion, why do you think community management is important? Why would a founder, or why would anyone be interested in hiring someone to build a community, right, around like a supporters community around like their project and their brand? Why do you think like community management is important as it stands now?
Yeah, so for Meta Intro, before we knew exactly what we wanted to build, we decided to build a community first, which was a backwards way of building a startup. And so what we did was we built a Discord community that was just dedicated to jobs and Web3. And then we talked to customer or new members, and then we got to know what their day-to-day problems were. And then we decided on building our wallet. And I brought Ugochi in at that inflection point where I think we had enough feedback from our members on what to build, and I needed help with, just continuing to engage the community and continuing to grow. And and she came in like right after the FTX crash, and so the hype was starting to die just a tiny bit in terms of people leaving the space. People were super skeptical, and over the past year. The role of a community moderator within at least our company has evolved a little bit, from not just Discord, but engaging with members across different platforms. So, for instance, engaging with members on Facebook. Facebook for us is the most active channel that we have. Engaging with people via Twitter, via YouTube Live, that it's expanded out of just Discord, which I feel like a year ago it was just Discord or just Telegram, but it's beyond that now. And so for day to day, it's changed a little bit, but for us, having a community manager has been so essential to just helping people look for a job, continue to remain like excited about the space, and helping equip them with the skills that they need to land that next job. So community managers are super, super essential, and important to have at the right time within a company.
I just like when you started speaking, you mentioned how for mental intro you started building the community first approach, and as someone who has been a part of that community for a very long time. Just thinking back, I remember like earlier, how you always like you're always around, right? And I remember at one time you even helped me to review like my CV, and I think you're actually like doing a very great job with the community, and what you have done is actually what you have done with the community so far from that time to now. I think is actually something that is truly, truly amazing. And then you also mentioned, the opportunity to building the importance of community and, getting feedback from members, right? That shapes the decision that, you make moving forward. And earlier when I started speaking, I mentioned something around like the hype around community management. But in your opinion, would you say that the community management space is saturated? Because I see there are lots of community managers right now that exist in the space. So would you say that the space is saturated, or would you see it as so many untapped potentials that we have in the space as community managers?
That's a great question. And I appreciate that you've been in the community for so long. Like, our community has totally evolved over time, and I'm still in the community every day. I still give resume help every day. And it's not just by Discord anymore. It's like across, like how I said, a bunch of different platforms now. And it's amazing to be able to just help people. That's probably my favorite part of being a startup founder. It's just being able to actually help people land a job. And so, getting into your question, if community moderators are super saturated, just like how any new industries, like, or new roles within industries like boom, there has to be something that differentiates yourself as a community moderator over time. So, like, if you had asked me 6 months ago, is this space super saturated? I would say absolutely yes. And now today, I would say yes, with a few exceptions. Oh, can you not hear? Oh no, can you hear me?
I'm here. Yes, I
Okay,
can. Yes.
awesome.
Yeah.
So I think, like, as the year, 2 years of, a lot of people making the transition into the space, your
Mm-hmm.
skill set needs to evolve, and it needs to
Right.
just continue to evolve. And so, for instance, like Yugochi, I know she's gone through a ton of classes while still being employed at Meta Intro, whether that's like learning how to build bots, learning how to like intricately use Discord for some other, features that aren't just moderation tools, continuing to learn other platforms where there are communities like Telegram, like Facebook, like newsletters, like other metaverses. And it's the importance of continuing to level up, which is what makes you stand out. So, like, for instance, with Yugochi's resume now, like, she probably has a pretty impressive resume, just like in terms of the education she has continued to pursue during her time at Meta Intro. And then what she has done at Meta Intro has evolved over time and has taken on more responsibility. And so I think that's really the key to standing out in a super saturated market, is like to always continuing to level up your skill set. And like coming here, everybody that's been here for the past 5 classes that you mentioned, like, this is an amazing step to putting something really, really valuable on your resume that definitely does stand out to a hiring manager. And so if you're in this room today, chances are I would definitely say you're a few steps ahead than a ton of other moderators in this space, because you're actively pursuing that education.
Right. I really agree with that about the skill set evolving, because with the way the space is evolving, roles are also changing, and as a community manager, for you to stay relevant and get the job done, or like know what you're doing, it's really important that you keep up to date with your skill. It's really important that you experiment a lot of things to see what's working and what's not working, and just improve daily. Like, what else can you do? What makes you stand out from the other person, right? And I think those little things are what counts, whether it be through education that you're getting, or it could also be through like volunteering experiences, right? Like volunteering, just to get that experience that can that you can put on your like portfolio for just to get that skill and that knowledge moving forward. And I think that's very important. And a question that I just want to quickly go through, since the topic that we're having today says, how you can build a profitable career, what would you say concerning that? How can anyone, build a profitable career as a Web3 community manager?
Sorry, ask that last part one more time. I cut out.
Yeah, I said, for someone who, just like the topic that we have today says building a profitable career as a community manager, what would you say concerning that? For what advice would you give to someone who's just starting out, or someone who has already started out, right? How they can improve and make their career better and become like a
Yeah.
profitable community manager?
Totally. There's a few different ways, and there's definitely not one right way. But I think if you're looking at your resume today saying, like, how do I make this stand out? How do I build a lucrative career? How do I excel in this space? How do I go to work for like a legitimate company that appreciates me, that wants to eventually promote me? Like, how do I build that career path? And I think it all starts again with being in this room and continuing to ask questions, to continue to educate yourself. And then from there, obviously doing some of the more practical steps like updating your resume, making sure that your resume looks tip-top shape. And I'm sure you guys give like some extent of resume help here. Meta Intro, we do a ton of free resume help. And then starting to apply to jobs. There's, again, a ton of different ways of building a career in this space. Like if you want to go work for a project, there's tips and tricks that I can give versus if you want to go work for like a large established company in the Web3 space. That's a little bit of a different tactic to get there. But other things that I've seen people do that I've recommended, like, your time is super valuable. I'm not like super bullish on people volunteering for projects because that's like a really easy way to get burnt out, to get taken advantage of, to get rugged. So on the opposite end, what I'll recommend people is like starting your own community. Like build your own Discord server with your own bots that you've built, with your own moderation settings and all of that stuff, and try to build it from scratch. And that is the best way to get hands-on experience building something that you're passionate about. And the Discord community that you build could be literally of anything. Like, are you passionate about soccer? Are you passionate about L1s or L2s? And building a community around that, I think, is a super invaluable experience. And then you can put it on your resume. Beyond that, getting other certifications, going to conferences if that's accessible to you, and putting that on your resume, completing bounties, hackathons. There's a ton of no-code hackathons that are in the space that you can take advantage of. And then beyond that, just start applying to jobs. Start networking in places like this, networking, on Twitter, on LinkedIn. Yeah, I can go on. There's just so many things that you can do, and there's totally not one right way. But it all starts with you just taking the first step.
That's amazing, really. Especially the part where you talked about, proof of work, like building a Discord server from the scratch and just attaching bots. And I've actually seen like persons who have made money out of this, right? Who have made money out of creating, because the project, they do not know how to build a Discord server from scratch and install the bot, right? So it was a way for them to like make money off of that knowledge that they have. And I think that's actually a very valuable skill for community managers, right? Because Discord is where most of these Web3 communities are hosted, and then security is also an issue. So if as a community manager, you are trying to build your career and that's one skill that you have, right? I think that's actually something that you can actually build. And I think there's a way you can like make that into like a template to building other communities, and which is very important. So if you're listening and you don't know how to do that, which I would consider as basic for any community manager in the space, then I think now is the right time to get your hands down and start doing more practical things, because those are the things that you would actually put in your resume and would actually stand out for you. And then something else that I also want to add to what Lacey has just said is curiosity, right? So as a community manager, you're trying to build a profitable career. Curiosity is very important. You need to be curious about a lot of things and to just get involved, right? So just like she mentioned, attending events, networking with people, and then taking a chance, right? Taking a chance on yourself, right? With if you're able to have proof of work to show, right? Taking a chance on yourself and then applying for jobs, because I saw a post on LinkedIn I think that post actually changed a lot for me right earlier on in my career. And the post was like, no one has ever met like um everything in a job description, right? Like there's no one who, like, for all the job description that you see, there's no one that has met 100% of what the job is looking for, right? But when you have a reasonable amount, you can do 70, 80, right? There's a lot of learning on the job that can be done, right? There's a lot of learning, there's a lot of experimenting that you would take part in to see what's working and what's not working, how you can make the community better, and the data that you get from there to interpret that as to what the community needs, as to what the community is interested in, or what the community is not interested in, right? And how you can further build up your skill as a community manager. And I think that's actually very important, right? So if you're listening to us and you have any question for Lacey, right? Just you can just signify with your avatar. You can just wave with your hand, and I'll give you the opportunity to unmute your mic and ask the question, or you can use the chat box to ask your question. If you're also listening live on YouTube, we'll also check the chat section. If you have any question for Lacey today as a community manager, there's something that you you are confused about, or you want to know how it works, right? I think Lacey would be able to answer your question today, because I mean she gives people jobs, right? She posts 3K jobs in a month, so there should be lots of jobs for you to get from that, and apply for the jobs, right? So quickly, the next question that I have is common mistakes, right? Because I've seen a lot of mistakes, right, made by community managers, and for some, I had someone who like cost them their job, right, just because of a common mistake that they made. So as someone in this space that you are, right, so what would you say are like some of the common mistakes that you see a lot of community managers make, whether it is with applying for these jobs or it is with managing these communities, right? So we want to know like the common mistakes, so that we can avoid those mistakes, to make sure that we're doing what is correct.
Yeah, I think so. When applying to jobs, again, your resume is super, super important. It's your entry point into a conversation with a hiring manager. And I have seen the most insane resumes that are like so, so awful. And then I've seen on the other end resumes that are like absolutely incredible. And I would love to be able to showcase them on our site. And so I think, again, getting solid resume help is important. That's an easy thing to overlook. But if you have the resources like here, or in Meta Intro, there's a ton of resources to be able to help you out to build a really solid resume. I think on the flip side, mistakes that moderators make within the Discord community, there's a ton of things that can happen. I think early on, like something that we drew attention to was like kicking people out of the community, which comes at scale. You get a ton of crazy, kooky, wacky people that will come in and say anything, and it's crazy, and then they'll try to get back into the community. And so Yugochi and I quickly had to figure out like how we were going to address like our rules for banning. And we made some mistakes along the way. We banned people that we shouldn't have. We didn't ban people that we should. But having like, as you go on to moderate communities, having a solid like banning plan, I think is important, which you can work out with the project or your bosses that are ultimately in charge of the community.
Right. And this question just came into my mind, and I wanted to ask, like, what would you say about, like negotiating for salary, like as a community manager, and
Salary.
negotiating, well, yeah, what would you say concerning that?
Totally. So again, the salaries range like crazy based on the companies that you work for. So if you're working for a company like Ledger or a Coinbase or a Rarible, those are going to be mostly US-based salaries where you're working 40 hours a week, and chances are you are not just moderating a community. Those responsibilities are like, you know, a long laundry list that involves managing and engaging communities across across socials. Like, it's definitely much more involved. On the flip side, you can go all the way down to like part-time moderation for early NFT projects or DAOs that are just getting off the ground that have zero funding. And so it definitely ranges. For us, we have a pay scale channel in our Discord that's an anonymous database where people submit like the salaries that they've received, the type of company they worked at, if that company received any funding, how long they've been in the space, etc. So if you go into Meta Intro's Discord, you'll see that pay scale channel. But again, it's just dependent on the amount of work that you're putting in, the size of the company. Sorry, there's noise in my background. I think they're going to stop soon. Sorry, we're currently not at home. We're on a birthday vacation right now, so we're making do with what we have. So again, salaries range, but if it doesn't feel good and if it doesn't feel like it's your worth, they're probably gypping you. That's like a good rule of thumb. If your gut's telling you that you should be paid more for the work that you're putting in, you probably should be. So yeah, I think that's like the best piece of advice that I could give for salaries.
Yeah, that's actually a very good advice, a very practical advice for anyone, right? If it doesn't right and the condition doesn't sit right for you, then probably not for you. And yeah, it has been had a very interesting space so far with Lacey of Meta Intro. If you're just listening to us, or if you're just joining us, we've had the opportunity to talk about the common mistakes that community managers make and how you can avoid that. We've talked about how you can stand out constantly as the space is constantly evolving. Your skill set needs to also evolve, right? Whether that be by the education that you have, or by being more involved in practical things, and just having something in your portfolio, right? So whether you are just starting out or you are a seasoned community manager, these are information that are actually, very valuable for you. And she also just talked about negotiating for salary. So this space is recorded. The space is also live on YouTube. So feel free at any time, right? Feel free to come back to the space and re-listen to it, right? And one question that I have for remember that if you have any question, just you can signify with you can just wave with your avatar, and we give you the chance to unmute your mic, or you can write your questions down and I will read them out to Lacey to have that question answered. So one question that I also want to ask, because I've seen with from my experience in the space, and with the people that I've come across with as a community manager, right? I know a lot of community managers, right? I network with a lot of community managers, and hearing like different stories, right? You just exposed to certain information, and I just want to get like your opinion on this, right? How important would you say is the role of like the other team members in building the community, right? So what would you say is the role? Do you think it's solely up to the community manager to um create an environment where everyone just flourish, or is it also important for the team members to like also be involved in the day-to-day of the community, or is that solely the responsibility of the community manager? What would you say about
Totally.
that?
It totally depends on the company. I can only talk about like how we structure internally at Meta Intro. I'm not entirely sure like how other companies like view that path for both engagement and growth. But like for us, my job on the growth side is to grow our communities, and that's again across Discord, that's across our newsletter, that's across Twitter, all of that. YouGoTo's job is to engage and to continue to keep them engaged. Putting that responsibility to do both for YouGoTo would be a very, very tall order, and it'd be unfair because you need a lot of resources, you need a lot of time to do it. There's a ton of things that go into scale. And so for us, like that's kind of how I divide it. So my job is to get people there. YouGoTo's job is to keep them there and get them a job. And so that's how we break it down. Other communities, it totally depends. If you are like interviewing for a job, you should definitely get that clarification. Like who's in charge of growing the community and who's in charge of engaging, because those are two very different jobs. And so ask for clarification on that, because if you're in charge of both, make sure that you have the resources and you're getting paid for, accurately for that, because that's a very, very tall order.
Yeah, I think asking for clarification is very, very important. Not only concerning that, but also, what advice I also give concerning asking for clarification is concerning like um your priority, right? The goal at that point in time. So as a community manager, what you may consider as priority, right, may not be the priority of what like the founder or the CEO or the other team members consider as priority, right? So it's always important that you are aligned, right? You know the roles, you have clear roles and responsibilities, and you know what is priority, and you're taking action that will ultimately help you to achieve those goals. And also, I just also remember that earlier on in the space, when I asked about if the space is saturated, and how you mentioned that just as the space is evolving, right, you just have to find a way to stand out. And I just wanted to also say that, right. So for anyone who's listening and who's thinking, oh, there's so many community managers, there's not so many community management jobs, right? You need to find a way to stand out, right? Find a way to stand out. It could be with your proof of work, it could be with education, right? Find something that makes you more valuable, right? Because as the space is evolving, your skill set also needs to evolve for you to stay relevant. Because when you get hired, you're getting hired to do a job, right? So the brand that wants to hire you will not hire you to just answer community manager. They will hire you for you to actually be able to carry out that job. So we're coming almost to like the end of our space, and so say thank you again to Lacey for joining us and for all the all the advice that she has given to us so far. If you are interested in listening to this also, you can also go back and re-listen to the recording. Lacey, sorry. I don't know if you have any final words, any advice that you want to give concerning, those who are interested in building their career, in getting jobs, and in just scaling as a community manager.
Totally. Yeah. So last big question is probably, where do I find the jobs? So for us at Meta Intro, there's a few different ways. If you're in our Discord server, we're a completely free Discord server to use. We don't pay gate or account gate anything. If you just hop in, you just complete the CAPTCHA and you'll have access to jobs that are posted every day. Again, we have about 3,000 jobs posted in a month. In a better market, we were looking more at 6,000. But channels are very, very active. If Discord is not for you, we also have a tri-weekly newsletter that goes out that lists a ton of great jobs in the space. That community has about 250,000 people on it. And on Twitter too. We post jobs there all the time from other companies that are hiring in this space. So again, all of our resources are completely free to use, from applying to jobs to resume help to interview help. We're here to help you succeed. So if you are looking for us online, you can find us at metaintro.com, on Twitter at metaintro, and Discord is /metaintro as well. But thank you guys for having me here. This is such a cool space. I love it. And it's awesome that so many people are still going through courses and actively looking for like ways to level up their resume. So again, if you're in this room, you're definitely taking a much bigger step than other people. And this is a great resource to have and a great education piece to put on your resume.
Yeah, I like the fact that you talked about the job part, and which I think is really important. And if you are listening and you feel like, oh, you're just started and you feel like not good enough, right? Because I know that's a common feeling with a lot of persons, right? You just have to you have something at hand, right? Could be your proof of work. I think we mentioned that earlier, and it's very important, right? So that when you're applying for a project, you're bringing so much value to them, and you're making yourself a much more valuable person. So yeah, I'm really excited that you have taken the step to go through this class through the last 5 weeks. And I think that's a commitment that not so many people are willing to take, right? That you have taken, and I think that's a step in the right direction, and gives you the confidence, right? Remember that you can't know it all, and there's a lot of learning on the job to be done. I always say that because it's true. There's a lot of learning on the job to be done. So you just have something at hand to get started, and then as you move forward in your career, somehow you just figure it out, right? As you're upskilling, as you're learning more, as you're experimenting with a lot of things, as you're letting your curiosity and your creativity lead you, right? You're opening a lot of like doors for yourself, and a lot of capabilities for yourself, and you just open yourself to a lot of things that you're capable of. So yeah, I think you know feel free, like apply for the jobs, right? Apply for the jobs, network, attend events, and build your skill. And yeah, the job will come if you're actually in that phase right now where you're trying to um get a job, and also avoid burnout, right? Job application burnout is avoid the burnout. So yeah, we're gradually coming to the end of our space. And one very vital information that I want to pass is that which I mentioned earlier on the Third Academy Discord, we're going to have a two-part test, a multiple choice question, and a case study, right? And I think the case study is also something that you can also put in your portfolio as a proof of work, right? And also, if you have been following up with the class activity, right, that's also another proof of work, right? That you can also put in your portfolio, in your resume when you're applying for those jobs. So you still have the time to catch up with the classes. You still have the time to catch up with the class activity, right? And then more information will be released as to when we would take the test, and when we have the case study for you to go through it. So always checking on Discord, and would also send you an email when we have all the details ready. So um okay, someone said, okay, can she please drop the site and okay, yeah, Ugochi just answered. Ugochi is the community manager of Meta Intro, and I just want to give her a shout out. I think she's doing very well at at her job, and offering the support to people who are searching for jobs. So yeah, if anyone has any question, any other question, that's the time. We have about 1 minute before we let Lacey go, because I know she mentioned earlier that she isn't home, and we appreciate her for finding time to join us today. And yeah, so if you have any question or any comments that you would want to make concerning the class or concerning the space that we just had today. Okay. All right, so let's do a quick activity. Let's do a quick activity. So when you right click on your computer, you see different reactions that you can give, and let's wave. Let's wave. Who else is waving with me? Who else is waving? Just right click, and yes, yes, yes. And you can wave. Hi. All right. Thanks so much for coming to class. All right, no problem. Thank you very much, Lacey. Thank you,
Thanks for having
Ugochi.
me.
All right, thanks. Bye.
everyone.